My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it's Celebrity Masterchef.
Yes, so bring out the red carpet and give me some champers, bitches.
Again, I believe it's called sparkling carpet, because it's not from the red region of France.
Oh, okay. Give me the sparkling carpet.
So, obviously, we had our second week.
Where would the red region of France is? What's the most communist area of France?
That's a really hard question to answer. What's the most socialist area of France to find? That's a tricky question.
I'll leave that for your history podcast.
You know, look in any place in the world which can have the shortest working week and goes, not short enough. Strike!
Yes.
It's fine by me. So, I didn't think we were going to get into communist politics early on, but here we are.
Here we are.
And what a show to get into communist politics when we're talking about the elite.
Yes.
Literally the second night of this, and we will get to the second night of this, was a champagne supper.
Oh, absolutely.
Hyacinth's Bouquet could not have arranged a more champagne-y of champagne suppers.
She's like, sweetie darling, you're just going to put, some champers out while I cook. That was my Hyacinth does Patsy.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Bouquet residence lady
Stone.
speaking.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheridan! It's my Sheridan.
Yes. I used to think I was really cool always doing Patsy impersonations. Sweetie darling.
I mean, look.
Bolly is Stolly.
By some of the way they were trying to get people to sort of into Celebrity Masterchef at points. I mean, if Hyacinth had become a bit of a famous person, Sheridan would have been perfect for it as an influencer. So we'll come into that. Look, and I like Tilly. Before people go, I like Tilly.
Yes.
But let's get into it, shall we? So the first night is Gordon. And otherwise known as the whole reason why we have Tilly here is so Gordon and Tilly can have some awkward interaction via pre-taped segments.
Look, I really enjoy Tilly on her own merits. Like, it
So
helps
what?
that she's got her dad to kind of, be the butt of her jokes, which, helps get her some TikTokers. But she's actually a very personable, vivacious young woman.
And what I'll say, though, is there are some people going, why do we have to mention Gordon every time Tilly's there?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm actually in favour of it because that's why Tilly's there. I know she's an influencer in her own right.
But her TikToks have her dad.
Yes, and she's there because she's Gordon Ramsay's daughter. Like, you're not getting a random TikToker onto Master. They could have picked any random TikToker to go on MasterChef Australia.
I try TikTok. It's too fast for my brain.
Well, I've only got a couple of people that I follow in doing any form of TikTok.
Yeah.
Literally food people.
Like, it's quite funny. I'm on a committee where we've gone, we need a social media, and like our older social media person's like, yeah, that's all fine. I can do everything except TikTok. So we've now recruited a 16-year-old.
When in doubt, recruit a teenager.
Yes.
Anyway, so what child labour laws? Yeah. So this was the first night Gordon decides to set, in the most roundabout and overblown way, an egg challenge for the first one. So the way they did that was, let's show Tilly's video where she gets her father in the face with a water bottle, which everyone has sort of seen. And it's funny. It's great. It's amusing. Well done. So the challenge was eggs. Now, it was how you decided to use the eggs. Now, I'm going to start with Tilly, because I want to get this out of the way, because a few people did contact us the other night about this and went, you're supposed to feature the eggs.
Yeah.
What did Tilly make with the eggs?
Fondant. Chocolate fondant.
Okay. Supposed to be featuring the eggs.
Yeah,
you
can't make a chocolate fondant without an egg.
I know it's an ingredient, and we're going to talk about Chrissie in a minute. Don't panic. She's not getting off.
No.
But, like, what was funny for me was, when they did the judging, there was a comment from one of the judges, and we're not naming any of them anymore.
No.
One of the judges made a comment that egg really binds the whole thing together. Go back and watch it. And it was the most, let's workshop the idea there was an egg.
Let's string that bow and then
Pull
it back and
long bow, as long as this bow can get.
And if you can just take a few extra steps backwards, that's about as far as we're going to draw that bow.
They looked really good. And she also has mastered the art of what people forget to do on these shows. She made more than one.
Yeah.
She made a tester.
Look, and this is what I mean. It's like, she's 19. she's obviously very clever and she's very skilled. And yeah, you know, she had the advantages of being, you know, in a family where, you know, her dad's a not hatted, but like a Michelin star chef, and got to grow up around that food culture. But she's actually taken it on board. She's not relying on that.
And again, she has a few times gone, whenever I'd go to Dad's restaurant, this was being made, so I've learned it. And look, if you've got that advantage, use it.
You can't tell me, though, Thorpe hasn't tapped into some of his restaurateur chef buddies. I'm pretty fucking sure.
I have no doubt that Thorpe has talked to all of his friends in the restaurant game.
Yeah, and Colette Dinnigan, like, she cooks for chefs.
It is quite clear there are a number of people that have either tapped into their restaurant friends or got crash courses. I'm looking at you, Archie Thompson, who has clearly been given a crash course in how to cook before he's gone anywhere near this show.
Well, I wonder if it is Melbourne Victory's #1 chef supporter.
Look,
they don't have much else going on, do they?
To be honest, you know, the Melbourne Victory's #1 chef supporter has about as much going for him at the moment as Melbourne Victory does. Hey, yo! # Sydney is sky blue. Anyway, more importantly than all of that, like, I'm not having a go at them for doing it. I'm just merely pointing out the fact that they've all had some level of backgrounding here.
Yeah, it's not just Tilly. Like, okay, she's got to live in,
Nick's a foodie, and we're going to talk a lot about Nick too. Nick's a foodie.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that he didn't go away and, like, see friends that were restaurateurs or get people and go, can I just have a few crash courses here?
He's in Tasmania. Like, you just kind of fall out your door into
Bump
someone
into another one.
That's a foodie person.
So let's...
Well, they can't at the moment. They're in lockdown.
So let's talk at Nick.
If they were allowed to leave their doors.
Let's talk Nick.
Okay, let's talk Nick.
So... he's been very impressive.
Nick is going to cook.
So he's been very impressive. And there's we're going to talk at the very end. We're going to talk about who's probably been the most impressive so far and who's really surprised you. And yeah, his name's about to come up. But before we get there, what I really enjoyed about Nick was, first of all, what he came up with for the egg challenge was sheer genius.
Yeah.
Secondly, the story about Heston
it's perfect.
Is fantastic because you get the whole wanted to eat a Heston meal. The experience was amazing. It was like something I'd never forget. It stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
I was really hungry when I left.
You know where he needed to go? He needed to go to the giant poppadom Indian experience that Heston Bloomer told her. That's more Nick's
with the bowl, the vat of curry. Yes.
Exactly.
But I love the fact that he talked about going to Heston and talked about what an amazing experience it was. But then did what happens when you go to a lot of these things and went, I was still hungry when I left. Like, who hasn't gone to a fancy gala do and gone through a Macca's drive-thru on the way home for nuggets?
Look, usually it's shithouse weddings. Like, I know, like, they can be beautiful in every way, but, you know, obviously, like, the caterers just try and skim here and there, and you might get a sliver of chicken or sliver of beef.
I'm not going to name anybody because I love them dearly.
Yes.
But a memory popped up the other day.
Of someone's wedding.
Of a wedding.
I know this wedding, yes.
And
it was a beautiful wedding.
The wedding was magnificent. It was fantastic. We adore them. And the day was fantastic. My abiding memory outside of the wedding and the reception was us and friends of ours meeting in the McDonald's drive-thru down the road on the way home because we were hungry still. And again, it's a wedding. Like, how many people cater their wedding for everyone apart from us? Yeah. Cater their wedding so that everyone's really full.
And this is what I find interesting, like, with the catering game, is you're mostly paying for the people to serve you. So I'm like, why not just serve yourself? Like, have a buffet.
Like we did. Right. Look, we
got people to cook their own.
Not to talk up our wedding, but just quickly, because I do want to. Some people have never listened before and don't know the story. No. When we got married, our decision in terms of what we're going to do for the reception was, rather than pay for catering and get it all fancily catered and sit-down meals, we said to everyone, don't bring a gift.
Bring some food to share.
Bring food. Now
we did a plate of fairy bread.
Now we did have some people who might possibly have been, bake-off contestants.
Yes.
May have been in the grand final. Who might have made the wedding cake? Hey, Mon.
Or Jeremy, who transported macarons all the way from bloody South Australia.
He flew with macarons as hand luggage. Because they want to check them in, and they were overweight, but he sort of flirted his way onto the flight with them overweight. But as a result of that, everyone loved the food because it was a variety of things. Everyone made something.
And I got sustainable takeaway packages that people could
We made it sustainable, and we made sure that everyone got fed really damn well.
At the wedding and after the wedding and probably a few days after.
Yeah, I had wedding leftovers for dinner that night.
And you know, something I love is that cake that Mon made us.
Yes.
Mum loved that cake. And it's my only regret is I didn't get another little cake of it made for her, but just fucking COVID.
My biggest complaint was that we had a power outage that took the freezer out and took the wedding cake out with it. Anyway, moving back on to Nick though, right? Because we said, like he talked about going to Heston and being starving.
Yeah.
What I loved though is he took that inspiration.
Yeah.
The egg.
Yes.
With the fingers. Now, he called them soldiers. I call them dippy fingers. I've mentioned this before.
We called them toast soldiers growing up.
Yep.
Or dippy soldiers. We had
we
variety of
we called them dippy fingers, which is, weird when you think about it. But don't think about it too much from childhood. Anyway.
Egg swords.
I like that.
Egg jousting. Yolk jousters. That would be cool. Like, you have a little fork that's like a knight on a
yolk
horse,
pokes.
and you can stab it.
No, they're yolk pokes.
Yolk pokes. Poker yolk.
That's what they're there for. They're yolk pokes.
It sounds like a new Pokemon.
What's that? Yoko, I choose you.
You're delicious for breakfast.
But what I loved was
No, Master, don't kill me.
he kept the theme of eggs, but then he made the curd, and he
Yeah.
made it sweet,
And
he used the eggshells.
And I've seen people mix, shortbread and curds before, and it was just him being intelligent about, the brief and how he was going to present it, and he did it beautifully, even with a little ceramic eggshell holder.
It was ridiculously clever, and
an
including
egg carton.
including the way that he took the tops off the eggs so that he had enough of the shell there, didn't crack, separated the top from the rest of it, emptied it out, did everything, put it all back in, and set it up in the ceramic carton holder. That was genius.
I wonder if he got one of those. Have you seen on it's like a Demtel ad or something with the little egg top crackers?
We're going to talk about Demtel again.
Okay.
They're coming up in the second challenge.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, we had them.
The egg cracker.
The push button one.
Oh,
So we had one at home.
you're fancy.
So it never really worked properly. It did
Of
work.
course not.
It did work, but
Okay.
you really had to know what you were doing.
Squeeze.
So what we had was, it was sort of this oval thing with the hole in the middle, and then it was an oval, and the two bits on the outside you could push in. And when you pushed it in, a serrated edge thing would just emerge from around the ring, like it was like the middle of one of the sandworms in June.
Could you do it to someone's finger? Ooh,
Too big.
What about just like a DIY bris?
I knew you were going there.
Muzzle tough.
Chaim, it's a boy, and what a boy. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you what to do with your egg top cracker. Anyway, don't. Sterilize.
No, please.
Sterilize it.
Please don't do that at home. Let's put a legal
Kristie
disclaimer
is not
in there.
telling you to do it.
No,
I want to make that clear. Look, we've avoided her long enough. Mm-hmm. There was only one person this episode was really about. Chrissie Swan.
It was.
This was... Look, there was a lot to unpack with Chrissie in this episode.
There's a lot of heart going on and a lot of talk about her love of quiche. And I was kind of there for her, but she forgot the bacon.
Well, before we get to quiche...
Oh, yeah, we're not even fucking there
this
yet.
is the first thing I want to mention.
Yes,
this is the first thing I want to mention. It's an egg challenge.
Why not do a quiche?
She decides to do a triple layer cake.
You could do any kind of quiche. But then she's cooking the cake, and she even had the judges come over and hint to her, can you rework this to make it work within that time? I don't know, by cooking one sheet and cutting the sides.
So only one person is dumb enough / brave enough
plus has a skill set
/ gifted enough to make a three-tiered cake work in the time frame they gave her. Poe.
Absolutely.
Now, Chrissie is a lovely person and a really entertaining person on the show.
Yeah, you give her 3 hours, I reckon she'd knock that up beautifully.
She's not Poe. Now...
This makes me think there's an alternative...
Okay, so you had a theory. Before we break down the cake and what she should have done, your theory.
My theory is right. So Kristie Swan, she's a mum. She's got a busy life. She does a morning breakfast radio show, which she only gets, a bit of some holidays with every year. And it's like, it's been COVID, it's been pretty tough. Here's an opportunity to have a bit of extra time off that show, because she would have had to have signed up for the full, filming duration of Masterchef.
Yep.
And couldn't go back on the show because that would give away.
Yes.
And she'd have nothing to, she couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So I reckon if you're kind of smart and you want to, throw it, maybe just accidentally on purpose, get out quite quickly.
To give yourself a couple of weeks off.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
That's a way to do it. And she's done it in the most lovely way possible.
So, where I became concerned...
Entertaining.
Where I became concerned for poor Chrissie. So, look, we'll talk about the errors that she made in a minute. Mm-hmm. I want to dig deeper into these dreams. Because Chrissie Swan turns around and says, and I'm quoting her here, whenever I'm on MasterChef, I have a dream that everything goes wrong. And this is the full MasterChef experience that I wanted, and I'm getting it, and it's fantastic. Look, now, who imagines going on MasterChef and having it fail miserably? Like, not even slightly. She said, everything goes wrong.
Look, I don't think this is how that book, The Secret, is supposed to manifest. Like, maybe this is the secret abridged that she read that doesn't give you the full kind of actually manifest something positive.
It's the slight hint. It's not the secret, it's the slight hint.
It's the inference.
She took some meaning from it. She worked it out herself.
But it also gives her brilliant fodder for the radio show.
Oh, she had fantastic fodder.
Yeah.
Now, the cake. So, it's a AAA coconut cake.
Yep.
And again, first of all, in my head, all I heard was Agnes Skinner going, "Not that one. It's a coconut cake." But secondly, I love the way that she was talking about the idea of being able to cover everything up with the frosting, and you couldn't cover up that mess. Now,
unfortunately, you can cover up raw cake, but you can't stop it from being tasted.
Yeah, and also it's all falling apart, and it's like in sections, and she dropped one on the floor. And look, there were so many things, but you hinted at it before.
There's ways to do this.
The biggest problem that she had was, and again, this is where we take MasterChef hat off, Bake Off hat on. Dump 2 of the cakes immediately.
Yep.
We talked about this last year with MasterChef when we were talking about doing cakes. And we're like, why does everybody feel the need? And this came up in Bake Off as well. Because we talked to one of the Canadian bakers, Anjali, who was talking to us about the logic when you think about things like Bake Off. How often in real life are you making a 3-tiered cake for just around the house?
Well, she wants to be the mama on the street feeding all the children. And that's cool, but in Bake Off, like if you look at what Tilly did, she made 3 chocolate fondants, but one was a tester, the second one was to put up if it was good, and the third one I think was to shove back in the oven if she needed extra time. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, why didn't Chrissie? Okay, you can make the full amount of cake batter that you usually make, then pop it in a sheet pan, cook it, or 3 smaller pans, or just smaller.
But this is the point.
And then you can cut out.
But this is the point. The point is small, right?
Yeah.
Use a smaller tin. If you are trying to cook 3 cakes, the heat is not going to be as even.
No.
And it's going to take longer. Use a smaller tin. Use, as you said, a sheet pan.
Yep.
There was no brief that said that she had to make 3 massive tiered cakes.
Yeah.
She could have used, as you said, 1 sheet pan, made the batter, had it flat, it would have cooked faster, and then she could have made 5 tiers.
She could have made
6
5
tiers.
tiers.
Like cut it, stack, ice it.
Or do the whole thing, when people use like a smaller ring to cut the shapes out of and stack it up. Like
there were so many ways to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I still really feel, because she's not a stupid woman, that she's like, you know what? I want 2 weeks off, out of lockdown. I want to take the kiddies, I don't know, down to the beach at St Kilda, although it was probably winter at that time. I want to take them to the beach at St Kilda and freeze.
Into the baths next door.
Into the baths next door.
So,
go ice skating.
So what I thought was another underrated part of the first part of this episode was, of course, Colette Dinigan was up on the gantry.
Just reading.
Who brings a book? Colin Dinnigan is the answer to that. Like she was cramming. She was doing some research. She was doing some study. Clever.
Exactly. And like normal MasterChef contestants, they don't have the ability to do that. Colin Dinnigan, on the other hand, well, I'm not going to be yelling over that gantry.
No.
Screw you guys.
Now, the other interesting thing was, so we got to the elimination cook. So the second cook was the elimination cook. Mm-hmm. And we get Chrissie Swan is obviously in there because the cake has fallen to pieces and it's not worked at all and she's dropped it. And yeah. We had Dilrook in there.
Yes.
And the third person was Matt. And Matt was in there because of his steak sandwich.
Yes.
But it was because the bread was too big.
Look, I'm a bandit for steak sandwiches. You know that.
But to be fair, his use of the egg was literally, I fried an egg.
I know. And what annoys me about people trying to fancify steak sandwiches, they think the bigger the better. It's like, no, just make it so you can have one decent bite with a bit of soppage, but you can get a bit of everything all at once. Like, there's no need for like 6 quarter-inch fucking sourdough slices to stack a full bloody leg of a cow on. And
having said that about bigger is not better on steak sandwiches, before we get on to the second part of the episode, you know what I did enjoy the big bit of?
What?
Archie Thompson's breakfast stack.
Oh,
with the massive patty in it and then the big egg over the top.
It reminded me of a slower, like an easier to cook timpano. Like just that kind of.
That was really cool.
And that's something you could make for the whole family, slice it up.
Yeah, it was like,
make it like if someone's not a fan of sweet, you make that for their birthday breakfast.
Whole team. You can feed the whole team with that.
Oh, yeah.
Explains why Melbourne victory was so slow. Anyway, hashtag Sydney is sky blue. So we move into the elimination part.
Surprised you're not saying miscellaneous city is sky blue.
No, because Sydney is sky blue. Anyway, so we get to the elimination. We've got the 3 of them in there. Now, Dilrook, of course, has the pin. Now, he could make a decision as to whether he wanted to use the pin or not. We get to the second challenge. Gordon does this convoluted thing where he goes through a drive-through, rips open a muffin, holds up the one piece of bacon, complains about the bacon, says that the bacon's been microwaved, complains about the whole thing, then goes, okay, your challenge is going to be bacon, don't microwave it.
Hold on. It wasn't, it was Thorpe that got through to the...
Oh, you're right, it was Thorpe, my bad.
Oh, my God.
And Matt got through on his thing, that's right, sorry, my bad. No,
As opposed to Thorpe's souffle.
Souffle failed.
Oh.
It's been a long week.
Oh, my God, it's been 6 weeks in one and it's just Tuesday.
I also block it out because I don't like to think of Thorpe being anywhere near elimination.
No.
So, no, that's right. His souffle didn't rise properly and it was eggy.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, in the egg challenge.
Because Colette's... The only time you heard Colette yelling out...
Oh, that's right. It was Thorpe.
She's like, Thorpe, get your souffle in. He's like, I just need 9 minutes.
And then he was like... But then Thorpe was like, I just need 9 minutes. I just need 9 minutes. And he finished and he goes, I probably should have got them in sooner. Colette Dinnigan was yelling at you to do that. Now, that's right. Matt went through off the back of that because I went... Hang on, he made a steak sandwich with 1 egg. And the 1 egg got him through. Yeah, the fried egg.
Like, it wasn't even poached.
No, it was fried.
It wasn't...
And he literally went, I fried an egg, everybody.
Like, he didn't even do, like, a 60-degree egg that he sliced up and presented nicely on the...
No, you're right, that's right. It was Thorpe, because we got into the bacon challenge. Because Thorpe decided that he'd... Okay, so a lot of people have commented on my Thorpe in high school stories. And yeah, don't panic. More will be coming. Because I got a lot of people go, can we stop? And I got a lot more people go, need more. But as much as I might reference Thorpe at high school, Thorpe references Japan. He can't stop referencing Japan. It's because he's like Godzilla there.
When he's mentioned that, I'm like, how the fuck do you fit in Japan? Like, I'd love to go to Japan, but as a beautifully fat woman, I'm just like... There is nowhere for me unless I go and stand in that middle of the street where Regurgitated did Things Don't Get No Better.
The crossing that everybody goes to.
Exactly. Like, that's probably the only space in Japan. There and Mount Fuji.
I mean, I'm a giant. I'm 5'7". I'm a giant. So, a lot of people are going, 5'7". Okay, that ruins a lot of things. Anyway, moving on. So, in terms of...
He's actually 7'5".
Yeah, exactly. So, Thorpe... always references Japan. Always.
Did he do that at school? Are you just wandering and go, I've just...
No, by that point he
went to Kyoto on the weekend?
But at that point he hadn't been going to Japan.
I went and looked at cherry blossoms by myself, like some pervert.
At that point he hadn't gone to Japan, remember? He went off for the
That's
World
for you Schitt's
Championship.
Creek fans.
He went off to the World Championships in Perth at 15, as Lindley Frame said, at the start of year 10.
Perth is the Japan of Australia.
At the start of year 10, and didn't really get to go back because he had to go then because he was preparing for Worlds and Olympics. So anyway, in terms of Thorpe, he goes, I was at this hotel and they did this dish with bacon. And the bacon was microwave.
How did he know that? That's
sure
bullshit.
Thorpe asked. So he goes, there's a strategy for how to do bacon in the microwave. I think I've got it. Now, Thorpe's strategy for putting bacon in the microwave. Step 1, get a plate.
Yep.
Step 2, get a piece of paper towel. Step 3, throw the bacon on the paper towel. Step 4, microwave.
Look, it's like the hotel probably had like a special microwave that was engineered by, Japanese bloody engineers that was specifically for crisping bacon.
No, there's a technique for crisping bacon in a normal microwave. You can do it.
It's like me with my tempering chocolate in a microwave.
Yeah, you can actually crisp bacon in a microwave. Now, the most effective way to do it, I mentioned that we were going to mention, Demtel and stuff like that before.
But here we are.
The bacon wave. Now, most of these crappy devices do not work.
How do you know the bacon wave works?
Because we had one at home.
Holy shit!
Sorry, 3.
What?
Yeah, our family had a bacon wave. They've still got one. My brother bought one about 2 years ago again.
What the fuck?
They work. It's the
Okay.
most bizarre thing. So all it does is you put it into the clips, it stands up sideways, and the radiating heat around it drains all the moisture from it, but standing up sideways, it crisps. It does work. Now, would I do it for bacon? No, because it crisps. The flavour's not great.
Yeah.
Right, because you're losing a lot of the fat to crisp it out.
But the thing is, like, the whole reason why people don't get like good crispy bacon is because you've got to cook it from cold and you've got to slowly render out the fat out of it before you get the crispiness.
The other problem
and
with
a little
this...
bit of crackle down
But
the rind.
the other problem about this was he then went to the pan.
Bacon.
He then went to the pan.
How good's bacon?
He then went to the pan. But if you really want to get proper crispy bacon, your answer is...
Crispy bacon.
Anyway, your answer is oven. Or, and I'm going to be one of those people, air fryer. Right? Now, our air fryer is predominantly used for crisping bacon because it does an amazing job at
Yeah,
it.
but not everyone's got, 1, the space,
But-
2, the resources, and
So-
3, the care to have all these fucking gadgets
But
just to
you
cook
don't...
bacon.
But if you listen to the first thing I said, the
Put it
oven...
in a fucking cold pan.
But the oven does it. A normal oven will do it. You put the bacon on a rack in the oven. You don't put it flat on the thing. Well, you can, but it sits in the oil. You put a little rack over the top. You put the bacon on top of the rack. You put it in the oven. It dries it out, crisps it up, and it still keeps enough of the fat in there. And you get perfect crispy bacon because the skin all bubbles up. Right?
I want you to prove this to me tomorrow.
You've seen me make pork crackling.
I know, and I'm just trying to weasel myself some bacon
I know you
tomorrow
are.
morning. I'd like to be like Michael Scott and you're my butler and I wake up to the smell of cooking bacon.
on a Foreman grill. We
No.
have the Foreman grill. Anyway, so...
Just in the oven's fine.
I know. So Thorpe was going to try to crisp it, and it didn't work. Then he crisped it in a pan, but it wasn't going to crisp properly in the pan either. He cooked it in the pan, and it looked good, but it wasn't vaguely what Thorpe was talking
No,
about.
because he added a whole bunch of oil to it, and I'm like,
I know. And then it was sitting in the oil. It's got oil in it. It's bacon. It's bacon fat. You've heard of bacon fat. It comes from the bacon. There was also the discussion that was had about Dilrook's one was that he used pancetta.
yeah,
Now,
it's not bacon.
delicious? Better believe it. Wonderful? Completely.
Yeah,
Bacon?
no.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really grey area.
No, but the thing is, bacon is a very specific type of
It's cut.
preparation of the meat. And it's a cut, but there are different types of cut. We know that there's like the American short bacon and
But it's like using
the
prosciutto as ham.
Canadian
It's a different
bacon
form.
from those perfectly round pigs
Rounded.
that they have.
Oh, they're amazing round. The Canadian pigs are beautiful.
Yes. It was one of my observations when I worked at McDonald's in the early 90s of how perfectly round
Canadian pigs were?
all the bacon was as it came out.
It is amazing that pigs are able to roll it out into perfect rounds. But no, you're right, and that's the thing. Pancetta's not really bacon, so we would have had an
different
interesting
preparation.
decision. Now, what he made looked really good,
Yeah.
but we never got to find out what the go was because while it looked delicious, and he was probably going to be fine,
And they probably would have let him through, even though pancettas are not.
They reminded him at the start of the episode and every 3 minutes afterwards, you know that the last couple of people that had that pin walked out the door with it still on.
Well, how stupid would you feel and foolish if you made the same mistake? I mean, there you are, second week, you're in the bottom, and you go home with a pin. I mean, that's...
I mean, to be fair, if you're a stand-up comedian, that's also about 8 years' worth of routine.
It really is, but...
And much like you were talking about Kristie Swan having breakfast material, Dilrook needs material.
Yeah, and look, I think Chrissie might have done a deal with Dilrook. She's gone, use your pin, let me go home. I'm going to go home anyway.
And we'll book you on Nova.
We'll get you a few spots.
I'll get you in all the time.
I'll try and get you a regular spot. You know, you become friend of the show, Dilrook.
Exactly. It'd be like, Dilrook's dilemma. Yeah. Gets you want to do Dilrook's dilemma. I mean,
and
if Dave Hughes is allowed to give advice in this country, surely you can too.
And Dilrook's delight, on a Friday.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, what do you love, Dilrook? Come and tell us about it. Anyway, so let's talk about her. So, if we thought the first challenge went badly, Chrissie decides that for the bacon challenge, she's going to make a quiche. Now,
I'm cool with quiche.
No, okay. What did she make for the egg challenge?
She made a cake.
What did she make for the bacon challenge?
She made bacon, and this is what I don't...
She made a quiche. She used an egg-based delivery system.
And she could have done, if she was... If she was going to use those two modes, like a baked good and a quiche, if she did, as you say, make the quiche in the first round, she might be safe. But then if she goes through the second round, why not do like a maple glazed bacon muffin? We've seen those.
She could have done cupcakes.
Yeah.
Maple glazed bacon cupcakes. Mm-hmm. They're smaller. They cook in time.
Yep.
Ta-da!
Delicious.
Delicious, not nutritious, but delicious. But no,
well, they've got nutrients in them.
Instead, we decided that we were going to make in the second round...
The nutrient of maple?
We decided in the second round...
The bacon nutrient?
We were going to make an egg-based delivery system for our bacon bits.
Yes.
So, there's a bit of an issue going on there for a start. Secondly, the pastry...
Yeah.
Which at no point looked like it was going to be successful. And then she puts it into the oven to bake, blind bake, and it just falls apart.
I don't understand how. Like, it must have had too much butter. It went in hot.
Then she decides and then she decides that she's going to save it by getting the dome molds and making a deconstructed quiche. Now, she gets it all ready. She goes, I've got the eggs are in there. That's fantastic. The eggs are all in. I've got the pastry there. We are doing great. And then she realizes, it's all falling apart though. Like, things can't really get worse. And she finishes that sentence, takes a breath and goes, I forgot the bacon. And goes running to the blast chiller.
See, this is a bit. I think she's practiced a bit. She wanted the holiday.
So?
She's rehearsed this. She makes it natural because she's got good comic timing.
Now, what we got from her, speaking of good comic timing, is probably my favourite line ever. Mm-hmm. Where she goes, the bacon is frozen. It's frozen, like Walt Disney Frozen. It's worth it just for that.
Yeah.
I absolutely adored that sentence.
Yeah.
But as she goes, how do you fit the bacon in a bacon chunk? But then she doubles down and goes, it's exactly like I dreamt. And I'm like, nobody in Masterchef history has been that pessimistic from day one.
It is. Okay. What I'm loving about Celebrity Masterchef, because I was thinking about it going, why am I liking this? One, the stakes aren't selfish.
No.
It's for charity, it's for laughs, it's for bragging rights.
We still don't know what charities. I do want to point that out again.
I am so annoyed at that. But anyway, then, like Bake Off, it's not a tangible win. You're not getting money or like a foot up into anything. Like, some people have gone on from Bake Off to do great things. Like, we're now seeing Monica on TV and stuff like that. But she was on an Adam Lior one recently.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. So there's not that kind of ego there, and they don't have anything to prove. They're not Instagrammers. They're not pushing for followers. They're not trying to be the coolest, hippest. They're just there to cook, have fun, support each other. It's just very authentic.
Colette Dinnigan is there to win.
Oh, look.
Anyway.
Her knife skills are phenomenal.
So, Colette Dinnigan is there to win, and in the second night, which we'll get to in a moment, somebody else is really there to win. We'll talk about them in a moment. So, we get to the judging, and just before the judging, Dilrook uses the pin, which leads us Thorpe versus the mess that is what Chrissie Swan has done. There was... Thorpe had cooked the bacon properly. Chrissie had frozen it and forgotten it.
It's Quiche Lorraine, but it's Marty McFly's mum in Back to the Future 2.
Yes, it's not the Lorraine that you get in Back to the Future, the original. And it's not the Lorraine you get at the end of the series who's, really well made out and well-to-do and rich and wealthy. It's Lorraine who's married Biff.
Yes.
And is stuck in Biff's hotel. Yeah. After George McFly amazingly fell from a window. It's that Lorraine. It's the cigarettes. It's the booze. That's what Chrissie Swan has made. She's made Lorraine from Back to the Future 2.
Exactly.
So, it was a tough decision. And the judges thought about it for what must have been milliseconds before they sent Chrissie home.
And she's gone, yes, I'm so sad. This is gutted. This is not my dream. It is my dream, but it's not my dream.
This is exactly like I dreamed. But she's the only person to get eliminated and go, it's exactly what I dreamed it would. So, she also said, I wanted the full MasterChef experience. Surely rip-roaring success is part of the full MasterChef experience.
At least having a bit of a high at some point,
So, the creamy middles are usually useful.
Dizzying lows.
Yep.
At least being in the montage of mediocrity.
Yeah, you got to be in the montage once. Yeah. So, night 2 happens.
Yes.
There's sparkling boxes, so somebody had got the work experience kids some glitter and some glue.
I just feel it was Demi Im's jewellery from Eurovision.
Yeah,
it had to be reused.
It was very, very dummy Im from Eurovision.
I was waiting for her to climb on top of the box and start going... Now my heart awakes to the sound of silence.
And we'll keep singing that, but she'd want a royalty, so we'll move on. But I looked at this episode as if it was fun, but it was very much how the other half lives.
Oh, yes.
It was a champagne supper.
I loved it.
It was, and this is not a negative. I'm not going, oh my God, look at them showing off how wealthy they are. They're all swilling champagne. It was hilarious. It was absolutely brilliant. Rebecca Gibney should have champagne in every cook.
She just... I think that's just how she cooks. She goes, I'm the sous chef at home, and I think it's because she's only got one hand able to do stuff. She's probably stirring a pot for her husband while she's sipping on the moe. Bit of bolly down the face.
It was brilliant because they had the 2 boxes.
Oh, sorry, it's Moet.
Yes.
I'm showing I'm a bogan by saying Moe.
It's not from the region in South Australia called Moe.
Okay.
So it's got to be called Moet. So what we got in this challenge was there was supposed to be the horrors sort of idea. They didn't call it horrors. I can't remember. It was Nasty and Nice, wasn't it?
No, Beauty and the Beast?
Beauty and the Beast. I can't remember. Nasty and Nice.
Come on, it's a cook as old as time.
Oh, fuck. Fuck. That's right, Beauty and the Beast. But the Beast box just had crickets in it. So you got a bit
there
more...
for the Helsinki syndrome, whatever it's called.
Helsinki syndrome, Stockholm.
It's kind of like Stockholm, but not quite.
It's better taxes. Anyway, so what we got was crickets. That was what the Beast bit was.
Yeah.
Now...
I have wanted to try crickets for so long.
You got more time.
They do in, I think it's... Thailand I saw, and they do it with the chili and the oil. Oh,
yeah, it was in a Bourdain.
Yeah,
but they do so they got extra time if they picked the Beast box. Now, what I found hilarious was the people that picked the Beast box started out going, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I don't even know, and ended up just eating crickets. All they were doing. So we started off. Archie Thompson, was like, where can I buy these? Yeah. Can I buy more? These are really good. Dami
started off with, this is not cricket. This is not cricket to have crickets. No. And then by the end of it...
There was this 10-minute voyage of discovery for Dami Im.
She'd gone to get things she needed to cook with before she even got one on her hand. And even then she's kind of...
She's like, I don't know. then she did all the face pulling, and then
That would be me.
And then she went, tasted and went, these are really good.
Yeah, I reckon they'd be like when you get the prawns at teppanyaki and they've done the legs and the heads and stuff, like really crunchy.
So we had a couple of different ways they were going to be used.
They're like the prawns of the garden.
They really are. So we had a couple
What
of
do you
ways...
think the flounders are?
Oh, God.
Christmas beetles? No, they're like the blue bottles, because Christmas beetles only kind of wash up once a year at Christmas time. Just like blue bottles. Perfect summer swimming weather.
You've put far too much thought into this.
Yeah, because they are. The Christmas beetles are the blue bottles, because when I go into the pool, I have to do a lap first to go and rescue all the Christmas beetles.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. So we got a couple of different uses. So Matt decided he was going to make a béarnaise and then sprinkle the crickets over the top.
That's the cool.
Which was quite cool.
Yep.
We got the crumbing.
Yeah, I liked that with Dami combining the Korean dish not gochujang. Sorry, I'm having a brain blank. But it's like a little schnitzel, and so she used the crickets as crumb.
As part of the crumb. That was really clever too. Like the way that they used it was quite clever. They used it in a way that, as I said with Dami,
putting it into the lavash.
Yeah, that was really cool. So was it Archie or was it Nick put it in the lavash? Nick put it in the lavash.
Nick put it in the lavash, that's right.
That's right, because Nick was, again...
He was doing the tartare.
Because Nick came up with an amazing idea. Archie came up with tartare, to which the judges at the end went, where the hell did you get the idea for doing tartare, Archie? Yeah, he did tartare. Yeah.
He did tartare.
Yeah, he did.
I gotta check this. I'm pretty sure he did the lavash for it, because he put the crickets in the lavash to scoop up the tartare.
It might have been. It probably was. I know that Nick said lavash, because people were commenting on the way that Nick said lavash.
Oh, maybe he did.
So,
anyway.
We're going to move on, because I don't want people to think we didn't watch the show. We definitely did. It's been a long week. So, in terms of the ones who went with the crickets, though, we got some ingenious things. Like they said at one point in the judging, they commented on, like with Dami, they said the smart thing that you did was the double fry. Yeah. Because you then fried them in a crumb, you got a bit of a nutty texture in with that, so you got the hit.
Deepening that caramelization. Nice.
But what this challenge started out as was, well, this is a battle of crickets.
It's like, no, it's not a battle of, it's not also not a scallop off.
Well, we're about to get to what it ended up being. It ended up being about two things.
Champagne velouté.
It ended up, well, I was going to say scallops first.
Scallops, yeah.
And then the follow-up, that old Masterchef standby, velouté. So, we got to watch Thorpe make a velouté.
And Tilly?
Yep, and we got to watch Thorpe make scallops.
Now, Tilly?
Thorpe. Thorpe. Love you, man, as you know. Really fond of you. Has there ever been a person more desperate for immunity?
No.
He was begging and pleading and scraping.
Look, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have a bit of a fantasy of watching Thorpe beg and plead and scrape. It's a delight. First of all, it was charming and endearing. Then it got a little like, really? And then by the end, you're like, now keep going, dude. This is hilarious.
Yeah, by the end, when they actually gave out the idea of who won immunity, and it was Tilly, by the time they got to Tilly getting immunity, and then he goes, you got to pass that over to Thorpe and said, like, look, by the end of it, it's that old comedy standard of you do something that's funny until it becomes not funny. And if you keep going, it will become very funny.
Like the rakes in Sideshow.
Yeah, the rakes in The Simpsons is the best example of that. Now, so the velouté is one thing. And obviously making a velouté meant the audience went nuts and went, where's the chocolate? No white chocolate whatsoever.
No. What? How are you supposed to make a velouté without white
there are people who have only ever watched Masterchef and only have ever heard of velouté on Masterchef who think that chocolate is supposed to go in a velouté. I've heard from them.
No, dude.
There are people who haven't worked out that the white chocolate velouté reference is because it should never happen. So anyway, velouté, watching Thorpe make his velouté was hilarious because all I kept on thinking was, I wonder if John's watching. And I wonder if John's taking notes from the celebrity swimmer on how to do this. But secondly, it became about cooking scallops.
Yeah.
Now, Thorpe was like, I only need a couple of minutes to do the scallops at the end, so we're fine. And he was very confident on the
And he's like, I'm going to cook them a lot on one side, get that real,
get the
sear, the crispiness on there, and then just a little bit on the back. And
turn them over, turn the heat off, and just let the heat warm through.
Yeah.
Tilly needed a couple of practices.
Yeah, and I love watching her. It's like so scientific the way she goes. She's very curious. She's like, okay, these aren't as plump as ours in... I'm like, how fucking big are your scallops in England?
Well, to be fair, she's not worrying about the English ones. She's worrying about the ones her father's getting. They probably
Okay,
cost
yeah, true.
8 times.
There's probably like some just East Ender watching this going, that's not our scallops. Our scallops are like half the size of these ones on telly.
It's much like the use of truffle. Much like the use of truffle in this episode, in the episodes this week.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, as Melissa Leong, I think, tweeted out, the entirety of the truffle budget is gone in one episode. But you got a situation where Tilly put them in the pan. She goes, okay, that burnt. They're not cooked. They've burnt. All right, I need to back the heat off. I'm going to have to do it in the last minute. And you could see, as you said, you could watch her process.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. It's like, yes, she's been around someone. She's had those advantages. But what you can't, teach or have the privilege of is her curiosity and her brain and her willingness to put these skill sets.
And you can have the famous father who's a chef, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to get a lot of legs up, but you've also got to have the ability to put it together.
Yeah.
You can understand everything with it, but if you don't actually know how to put it together, it's not going to work.
It's like my mum. She was a prolific knitter in our youth. And she tried to teach me, and sewer, and she really, really tried to teach me. My younger sister picked it up. Me, I don't know. I think I pissed off some sewing gods, like, in previous lives, and probably in this life too, because I just can't. No. And it didn't matter how...
And you've watched my mother knit, you just look at her and go, you do that, I can't do that.
Yeah. Like, can you make me a beanie for winter that keeps my head warm while I'm sleeping?
She does.
Pro tip, if you suffer from sinus, keep your head warm.
Exactly. So we get to the judging, and literally the judging was all about...
You become a bed gnome.
Literally the judging was all about Thorpe versus Tilly.
Yeah.
And I think everyone felt that Thorpe had probably got over the line. Mm. And then they tasted Tilly's scallops.
Yeah.
And it was pretty apparent that Thorpe was going to lose, and it was going to be funny.
But what I loved is Thorpe had a message. He goes, I'm just, inspired by the sea and, because I'm a swimmer.
Yeah. But they were like, at one point, they were like, I've got to watch out because Thorpe will be brilliant with the scallops. And I'm like, the scallops aren't in a 50-metre swimming pool, right? There's too much chlorine. They don't naturally go the places that Thorpe spent most of his life, right? He's not swimming laps. Don Talbot is not standing on the side of the pool while the Olympic team is preparing for Sydney going, watch the scallop.
You can't tell me there isn't some, rich oil baron sheik out there that doesn't have a pool that you can swim in, that not only you can swim in, but you can dive and pick up your own, scallops and abalone and lobsters. I've seen fishing in the Yemen or whatever that one was.
And to be fair, salmon fishing in the Yemen.
Salmon fishing in the Yemen,
And to be fair, if anyone in Australia was going to know that rich sheik,
it would be Thorpe. They would
go,
get me that Ian Thorpe. I will pay him $1 million to dive and pick up my lobster for dinner. Yep.
That would completely happen. I mean, look, he needs to replace the money from the lost revenue on the Thorpe water. Anyway, so love you, Thorpe. All right. So obviously, then we get Tilly with immunity. So Tilly has immunity.
That's great, having her in another week.
She's not hit the wall.
No.
Tilly not in the wall. Again, another reference out there for the Triple J people from the early 2000s. So Tilly has immunity. Thorpe is trying to steal it. No doubt he'll probably try again when they walk in. I'm still worried that Colette Dinnigan will cut a person. So let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about before we finish up. Mm-hmm. Who has surprisingly impressed you? Now, I know everyone sort of has had their moment and everyone's been really good.
Yeah. Tilly has definitely surprised and impressed me because I wasn't sure if she'd just be that kind of token child of a celeb that would come on.
My initial reaction is Colette Dinnigan is really good.
Holy shit. I presume her friends and stuff would know how awesome.
I mean, again, she casually, as we said last week, she casually dumped that she's made dinner for Yotta Modelingi.
Yeah, and she's one of the only people that will let him cook for her, I think, or there's some chef. Maybe it's Peter Gilmore. I can't remember. She dropped a lot of names.
No, she said that Yottam. She's only one of the only people that Yottam will let cook for her.
There we go. So she's got the skills, and I love learning about that. That's something new. She's not just a fashion designer. I would encourage her to maybe use those creative food skills to make inclusive sized fashion. Just saying.
Just dropping that hint.
Just dropping that hint in.
Nick has obviously been brilliant.
Yeah, because, you know, if you were going to stereotype him, you'd say meat and 3 veg guy. Like, this is some Ben level.
We haven't got anything vaguely meat and 3 veg. He's been outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Archie's done some really interesting things.
Yeah.
Not expected. I really love Rebecca Gibney. I know there were some people who were a bit annoyed. I love Rebecca Gibney.
Yeah, like she cooked a nice fried rice.
And this has got nothing to do, by the way, with Pack to the Rafters. As I mentioned last week, never watched Pack to the Rafters. No interest in Pack to the Rafters.
No.
I just really like her as a person.
Yep.
I think she's
toweling
really...
down Thorpe as he was
Oh, that was brilliant. And I liked hers. She was standing there watching Matt get feedback.
Yeah.
And that was when her and Chrissie were standing there going, look at him taking the feedback in so seriously. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And she goes, he's so handsome. Matt's been okay so far. Yeah. Matt's been pretty good. Dami is making some really nice Korean food.
Look, it's her skill and how quick she is when she's going, crickets, what can I use? And yeah, she's drawing on like the Korean food that she's familiar with, but she's like crickets.
And how cool is it, by the way? And how cool is it, by the way, to see a chef with an Asian background using chopsticks, cooking with chopsticks? Cool. It's really good.
Uncle Roger will be very happy.
Yeah, look, I think they've all been pretty impressive. But I just feel like, for me, Colette Dinnigan, I think, has about 8 more gears.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what she whips out.
I think Nick is brilliant, but I think Nick is also, once you've gone with the Heston creation, how far can you push? I'm also really enjoying them breaking down a lot of this foodie stereotype when they go, where did you learn all this? And like Archie goes, I've watched a lot of YouTube.
Yep.
Because that's how people at home do it.
Yeah.
Right. Tip for the professionals out there. Mm-hmm. We all watch a hell of a lot of YouTube when we're cooking.
Yeah.
Get ideas. How do you do it? Watch YouTube.
Yeah. Except those fucking tasty things. Watch some Anne Reardon for some...
Yeah, don't watch the 5-minute crafts and tasty and all those shitty videos because they don't work.
No.
And also, I've just to put it out there because, you know, I believe that everyone needs at least one decent cookbook. Mm-hmm. The Food Lab.
Yeah, that's a good
Have J. Kenji Lopez Alt's The Food Lab, and you can't go wrong.
My suggestion? Country Women's Association cookbooks.
Yeah, you are a big fan of those.
Yep.
Exactly.
Don't know why I'd never use them.
Anyway.
But I like looking at them and pretending I'm in like 1930s Australia and going, oh, Florence, we should be making some pumpkin scones for this fete, don't you think? And Florence would go, no, Kristie, that's just some radical ideas.
As we've talked about previously...
Pumpkin in scones.
And as we've talked about previously on a Bake Off...
Turnips.
On a Bake Off podcast, while Kristie finishes her 1950 story.
30s?
Sorry. As we've talked about on a Bake Off podcast before...
Yeah.
With scones, you can either do them or you can't.
I can do them.
They're really fucking hard.
No, what?
No, but that's the thing. People can either do scones...
Or they can't do scones.
Or they can't.
Or they make rock cakes.
They're not really a learned thing because if you watch people who have already committed to trying, to make them.
From the Women's Day cookbook.
Yeah, but that's what I said. Like you worked it out early.
Yeah.
But once people have initially set their scone expectations, that's it.
Yeah, I think you've got to go in it with respect for the scone and not believing that you can just do this. Like
you've got to believe in the scone.
Believe in the scone. Trust in the scone.
Anyway, linking that in nicely, that's going to be the end of this week. If you haven't watched it or listened to it, I do also want to recommend that you go and find a VPN and go and watch the Great Canadian Baking Show on CBC Gem. Our podcast from yesterday, which is why this one's now out on a Tuesday, was episode 1 of season 5. Yep. And it is magnificent television. And there was an Australian technical.
There was indeed.
Which we may or may not have had a hand in. But listen to the podcast to hear the story about that. Again, we really enjoy getting all the feedback. We're enjoying the live tweeting. We're just enjoying having fun with the show. And so, and as we've said, we're only going to talk about things we're having fun with. So that's what we're doing.
Let's have a few laughs and bubble the bath.
Thank you, East 17.
You're welcome.
And on that bombshell, we will leave it there. Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It's really all right.